first night, then drove 8 hours across Guatemala and then 4 hours upriver in the boat. Then that afternoon met the production crew, the presenter, the producer, the cameraman, the sound. They flew in by helicopter, and pretty much because of the time of day and the weather, they went straight into filming because we took the rest of the gear. So there was no real time. We'd already talked about it because we stayed in the same hotel, had dinner together. So we pretty much went straight into filming. The helicopter shoots and all that kind of thing. It wasn't until the evening, and it was quite difficult because their priority is charging batteries ready for tomorrow. We had a generator which operated 3.5 hours every night solely to charge camera batteries. If you wanted your phone charging, you kind of had to wait. Yeah. So they've got a really switched on, swept up routine. In batteries on charge, sort out kit, get everything ready. The assistant producer downloads everything onto about 7 different hard drives, labels everything, clears all the memory cards so they can use tomorrow.
So instead of becoming a drain on the main effort and the central resources, were you self-sufficient in terms of providing charging capabilities for your own comms and your own medical kit?
I had a couple of those cheap battery packs, and then I charged them through the day from a Solar Monkey panel. Mm-hmm. There was another plug I did use one night, but pretty much I charged my batteries through the day, which then charged my phone overnight. So
solar panel on the back.
Yeah, I was independent. Occasionally, if there's a plug spare, I'd chuck it in just to give it a top up. This was before my phone succumbed to the jungle. But yeah, I was totally self-sufficient in every way to what they were doing. It wasn't until then, and then pretty much I had to rein people in because they wanted to eat. They'd just travelled from Europe, etc. Right, fellas, sit down, shut up. This is a site safety brief. Environment, personnel activity, that kind of thing. Risks in the camp. Your biggest risks are. I had my day sack on the table. This is what I'm carrying through the day. But this is where the other med bag is. Look here, it's all labelled. This is where it's located. It will be there all the time. Please don't use it, because if the time comes. And I took a small first aid kit, just a $10 one from the store, for them, for plasters and paracetamol. I went, that one you can use. Just let me know you use it, because then I can restock it. But the first aid kit, anybody can use. The other one, you won't know what's in there. I've got chest tubes, I've got sutures, I've got everything to stabilise you. And if you use a suture to fix your pack frame, and I need to do a chest tube, you've just totally ruined my day. Then we put the emergency number above that, just Sharpie pen, piece of paper, gaffer tape to the wall, and that's where the med bag stayed.
Yeah.
Did the safety brief. They all wore snake gaiters. Some of the camera crew, I know we talked about it, they wore Wellingtons, pretty much because they're stood still.
Stood in boggy ground and water all day.
Wherever the shot is, they stand.
Yeah.
And they don't move.
So they've got reduced circulation.
So I did a bit about risks of... They're like, are you wearing snake gaiters? I went, no, because I've got all you people in front of me. You'll scare it, you'll get bitten, and I'm okay because I'm near the back. They had to wear snake gaiters. They took Wellingtons. Some guys wore them, some didn't. The first shoot we did was a 4-hour uphill trek through the jungle to a mine site. You couldn't have done that in Wellingtons. Well, you could have done, but your feet wouldn't have thanked you for it.
But they're useful for... I know it's not a cold environment, but it's useful for preventing things like trench foot, where you've got reduced circulation and you're wet and cold all day.
And it's quite an interesting... Why you got Wellingtons? And it's because with camera, wherever we stop to get that specific shot, that's where we stop. Until we can move. If that's 8 hours, they stay there for 8 hours.
Well, once you get wet feet and you're static all day, if your feet are wet like that for 2 or 3 days, you're going to be in a right state.
They sorted out who was sick. They all had pop-up tents, because there are some buildings that you can go in. or a bed with a mosquito net. A couple of them had tents. Me and the assistant producer, we had hammocks. And because the forecast was rain in the rainforest, a couple of guys were like, where's the best place to put tents? So they instantly looked at me, where do we put a tent? And that's kind of where you have to dive all from your stereotypical medic to, well, I won't go here because there's mud everywhere, but if you look where the helicopter was, it's nice, lush grass, but if you look there, there's kind of an angle, and it all runs down there, and it's just interpreting the lie of the land. They put the tents there. I had no problem with water. They had a few tarantulas climb up between the fly sheet and the outer sheet. A lot of frogs jumping around and amphibian types. A lot
of considerations. There's the deadfall. If you pitch your tent right next to a track, that's probably where the snake's going to bask in the early morning sun.
And it was just looking at the site. Where's safe, in my opinion? Well, I would go there. I don't know about you fellas, but this is where I put my tent.
Did you talk about camp hygiene routines and discipline?
We had the fortunate there, in the ranger station, it's got flushing toilets and cold showers if you don't mind really big spiders. We had hand gel, so we covered camp hygiene. The main thrust of that brief was, because everyone thinks they're going to die by snake bite, it was like a welcome, a bit of my background, because none of them had never met me. A bit of my background, what we do in Guatemala, helicopters, survival, all that kind of thing, to put them at ease. PPE, and pretty much it was all about prevention. This is what you're going to come across. Let's allay fears, and quite bluntly, your biggest killer is going to be dehydration.
How you prevent dehydration, sunburn, mosquito bites,
blisters. Wash your hands, stomach upsets. Do all the... we can eradicate 90% by you washing your hands. And a bit of a field lecture like that. I've got diarrhea. We're taking water every day. They did take... Basically, everyone was responsible for their own water, and they took, the ceramic eco-filters.
Yeah.
Because obviously the water comes from either the rain or the river. So that's what we used for drinking water. And then we had at lunchtime, like a little packed lunch with a Gatorade or an orange juice, something different to water. Snacks, that kind of thing. Some nicest chocolate I've had in Guatemala, I can't remember the name. So a lot of that, the emphasis on the safety brief was prevention. If you want to not get bitten by a snake in the middle of the night, put something on your check your footwear first, put it on your feet, use your torch. I know it's a bit of a rigmarole that the toilet's only 3 metres away, but there's a nice bit of warm ground there where Mr. Snake wants to be.
Yeah.
Step on logs, not over logs. And it was all more of a prevention. And then I kind of ended it with, I did a daily sick parade. I said, every morning, basically we were got up about 5 a.m, breakfast 5:36, because as soon as the light was out, we were gone filming. So I said, every morning, whilst breakfast is on, anybody get problems, blisters, feet, crotch rot, I don't care what it is, let me know.
That's really important that you make yourself available so people know you're approachable, you're open, they know where to find you, at what time. So there's no barrier there. If they feel they can't come to you or they don't know where, all of a sudden you're in the middle of the jungle or on top of a mountain, I would have told you but I couldn't find you. Now you've got a problem in a remote area.
And it was, so I had a fixed, because basically we had a central table under a hut, and that's where the generator was. I said, I will be here from this time at night and the same time in the morning, every day. If you've got anything, no matter how trivial, let me know, we can have a look. Even if it's lots of insect bites, we can clean them, prevent them going septic. At night time, because it gets dark at 5:30, so you've got 5:30 till 5 a.m. It's pitch black. I'm in my hammock because there's nothing else to do. If you need me at the night, just come wake me up. However, when we're filming through the day, obviously you're off filming here, we're kind of at the back with the gear out of the way, you'll have to come and find me. If you go 5 miles ahead, I'll be 5 miles behind unless you let us know. And then it was more of, and your expectations of me are what? What do you think I'm going to do for you? And we talked about snake venom and all these kind of things, and I kind of explained it doesn't actually work like that, which we'll cover in a separate podcast, which was a shock to a lot of people. Like the archaeologist, he carries it, doesn't know how to do it, or how to use it, but they carry it.
Cure for everything.
Let's wave it in the air and we're all better. A bit about MEDEVAC, a bit about comms, all that kind of thing. So it was kind of a it wasn't very long, and it was more of like a chat with a few bullet points.
A lot of it's about managing expectations. You think I'm here for this, I'm actually here for this. I think you're going to do this, but really you're going to be doing this. So as long as you manage expectations and everybody understands their roles and responsibilities where they should be, what we can actually do and what we need to improvise or talk about later. And
also it was, if I'm doing something wrong as a medic for you, tell me. If I'm stood in the wrong place, I said, just tell me. I said, because I've done filming from helicopters, blah, 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 blah. I've never been on the ground with you. If you want me to stand in a certain location, or because you end up carrying camera kit. Everybody carries camera kit. But I said, I'll only carry it for certain, because at the end of the day, if I'm starting to get tired, everyone else is starting to get tired, and quite selfishly, that's the point I need to lighten my load, because that's when accidents will happen.
Or it's going to affect your decision making capability.
Hot as hell, etc.
So speaking of the heat, once you got into the routine, you'd established the parameters, the rules. You kind of followed their rules. They followed your health and safety advice. So you got into the daily routine. I understand there was a helicopter in, or fixed wing first, helicopter, ground transport, canoe, the Mark 1 boot, until you got into the really remote area. You gave the prevention brief, you were alongside them all the time. Then the heat kicked in, you got into the real austere, remote environment where there's no telephone signal, and reading your debrief, you had 3 patients, right?
Yeah. The first one was on day 1, which was the cameraman. They were filming doors off on the helicopter. He'd put, because of the camera, he was on headset, but then he'd taken the headset off because he changed camera or whatever he's doing. So basically he'd put a paper serviette in his ear, and when he pulled it out, he was sat at lunch at night, something wrong with my ear, I think I've got a bit of paper, and he literally, one ear was plugged up. So that was just simple head torch, pair of forceps, because what if you don't take forceps or tweezers, or even nail clippers for those annoying little bits of skin. So that was quite an easy removal. The second, the presenter, obviously he's got a prosthetic limb. That wasn't really my concern, because looking at his activities, what he's done before, he is an adventure presenter, explorer, that kind of Tomb Raider, that kind of thing. So he can manage phantom limb pain, etc. But he gets problems. He had like a little trifold seat, which I was kind of jealous of in the end, because he could sit down without sitting in the jungle. He'd deal with his phantom leg pain, all that kind of stuff. But with him stood, when they do take after take after take after take, he started to get like spinal pain, lower back pain, which normally you'd probably say, go to bed, you'll be fine. But because it was making him grimace with pain on camera, it was like, how to
affect the main effort.
Yeah, and it's now affecting, and he's not smiling when he should be smiling or talking because his back hurts. So literally that was, I said, these are what I've got. I've got tablets for this. However, I think for you, I gave him a diclofenac intramuscular. I said, it's a bit stronger, it works more deep muscle, and it'll be